Stubbs has once again found his way out of the ground and onto the epic free games list this week, and I'm slightly undecided if he should have just been left dead and buried to the annals of time. The game was originally released in 2005 and it certainly shows its age. Unlike most games where you are killing zombies, here you play as Stubbs the Alpha Zombie, Patient Zero if you will, as you go around eating brains creating a zombie horde. I say horde when I actually mean is a handful of mindless zombie followers that will die very quickly. The game does have a story, not that you would notice it too much playing the game. Stubbs was originally Edward and was in love with Maggie Monday. He was killed by her father. Maggie's son builds a new high-tech city on top of where he was buried, and Stubbs raises from the grave to seek revenge. And he's trying to get back with Maggie Monday at the same time. The gameplay is where the game really shows its age, and it can be very buggy. It took me 3 attempts to get through the first tutorial area, as it failed to continue twice after trying to summon the other zombies with a whistle. The game consists of somewhat linear levels, though they have some very wide open spaces, but without any real direction, so you can be left wondering exactly where you need to go or what you need to do. Other than that, the levels are rinse repeat. You go through the level defeating increasingly difficult enemies, and by that I mean they get better guns as the game goes on, while turning people into zombies to help you, and that's pretty much it. Over the first few levels you will gain access to your abilities. One is an AoE fart, which causes enemies to become stunned, the ability to throw your internal organs as grenades, ripping off an arm that runs around like Thing from the Addams Family and can mind control enemies without helmets, then finally pulling off your head and using it like a bowling ball that can explode. All of these abilities are mildly amusing in the first few times you use them, but you soon realise that the entire thing is rinse repeat with very little variation. The boss battles, as with the rest of the game, you get no real direction for, but they do have an extra element to the combat. For the most part it's usually pushing a button or having a dance fight, which thankfully you can skip. Otherwise the combat is pretty much identical. One example of a boss fight is the first time you meet the big fella with a chainsaw. There's no direction as to how to beat him. It turns out you just have to fight him like any other enemy during the pause in their attacks. The number of enemies on screen and zombies on screen are very small, and you never really feel like you have a zombie horde. Certainly the age of the game and the kind of hardware you had back in the day would likely play a role here in why there are so few on screen. There are a few instances where you can drive various vehicles, but it's very easy to get them completely stuck, and they are quite wild in terms of their controls. They feel a bit of an afterthought. Graphically, the game looks old. I mean, it is from 2005, so no shock there, but you know, it's one of these games that really doesn't age well. The graphics look bad. The sound is really nothing to write home about either. There are lots of repeated voice lines for the enemies, and Stubbs manages the word brains in a few different tones during the game. In summary, if this were 2005, I think the game would be mildly more impressive, but it's a game that has aged badly, both in terms of gameplay and graphics. It's horrifically repetitive, and thus gets boring pretty quickly. It's also really slow paced at times, as there's no real flow. There are multiple points where you can get completely bogged down due to number of enemies versus number of possible zombies you can have. And if you're out of ability charges, then you're pretty stuck. If you fancy a blast from the past and some mild crude humour for an hour, it might be worth a download, but honestly, I think Stubbs is one zombie that should have been left dead and buried. Stubbs the Zombie, Rebel Without a Pulse, is free on Epic until the 21st of October. Has anyone else grabbed the game? What did you think? As always, thanks for watching. Please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you all soon for some more epic game reviews.